Well, France 24's reporter Andrew Hilliar has just returned from northern Syria. He joins me now in the studio. Andy, welcome back. Now, your team arrived, of course, in Aleppo after the fall of the regime. What was the atmosphere like on the ground?
Yeah, well, after waiting several days, it was indeed the Turkish authorities who finally gave us permission to cross into Syria, because they are the ones who control the access in and out of northern Syria, because there's no one actually on the Syrian side to give visas. And the first thing we saw when we got to Aleppo was this remarkable scene of men on a crane tearing down old regime flags and tearing down an old poster of Bashar al-Assad on the central square in Aleppo, Saadallah al-Jabiri. That was to prepare for the Friday, and that was when there were the huge celebrations. These are the pictures of those celebrations, the first Friday after the fall of Bashar al-Assad's regime. And I just want you to take a listen to get an idea of the atmosphere on the square that day. Take a listen to these two people speaking to France 24.
I'm so happy because the revolution triumphed. Even if we paid for it with our blood, a lot of blood, and the screams of mothers, the pain of children who were orphaned, and women who became widows. Bashar al-Assad created chaos in Syria. He created chaos. I hope God burns his heart like he burnt the heart of so many mothers.
I'm in a state of euphoria. I swear as soon as I arrived to the square, I started crying. I cried because I feel freedom. I saw policemen and I stopped and took a photo with them. They embraced me. I can't believe it. Is it a dream or is it really happening? Is this all normal?
What you heard there was a woman who lost her son during the conflict and a man who was a former inmate. And that really does sum up the atmosphere on that day. You had former inmates, people who lost loved ones, former fighters, entire families, and people really riding this wave of euphoria that, that we saw after decades of regime repression and more than a decade of conflict. People were very much happy to speak to the camera. It's not unusual to see these bursts of euphoria, following the fall of regimes. We saw in Egypt and Libya. The problem is that the euphoria won't last. There will be hard questions that need to be answered. Questions like who will pay for crimes that have been committed, and what will Syria's future government look like?
Now, speaking of that, Andy, you as you hinted there, there are a lot of challenges that are going to have to be addressed. Where do you think things stand or will stand in terms of reconstruction and reconciliation?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is you have entire parts of the country that have been laid to waste. Aleppo was contested for years. Parts of the east of the city, which was held by the opposition for a long time, look like a wasteland. And it's the same in the north of Aleppo province too. These pictures are from Aleppo province, filmed by our team. There are ghost towns everywhere. We filmed in one town called Kafr Hamra, in which you had like a handful of families even trying to move back in amidst the ruins, despite the lack of basic services like electricity and running water. And it's not just reconstruction that's a challenge. There's also the question of inclusion. How will minority groups be treated? And we reported on Aleppo's Christians and on their fears for the future. And I want to take a listen now to the Bishop Hannah Jalouf, an inspirational figure who told us that he believed that we should trust, that Aleppo's Christians should trust HayatTahriral-Sham when they say they will protect minorities. Take a listen.
They promised us, and I think their promises are honest, that everything would be left untouched. They didn't come to disturb the community mix. They came to topple a corrupt regime. Now the regime has fallen.
Now, what's remarkable about those comments, Erin, is that Hannah Jalouf was actually kidnapped by Jabhat al-Nusra in 2014 for several days. And Jabhat al-Nusra is was the precursor to HayatTahriral-Sham before the group split with al-Qaeda. So you have the problem of reconciliation. What makes things more complicated is that you also have people who are openly calling for revenge against those who supported the Assad regime. In Idlib, we spoke to one marketplace seller who told us that he wants Syria's new rulers to give them justice. And he said if they don't, then people like him will take matters into their own hands. So the question is, whose vision will win out? Will it be a vision of tolerance and inclusion, or will we see this desire for vengeance? And that will determine, to a great extent, what happens next.
Only time will tell. Andy Hilliar, thank you very much.